Welcome to Voices Uniting Everyone. I'm your host, Larry Davis. We're back with two new guests to talk about strategies and ways to make all students feel a true sense of belonging, community, and purpose here at the college. Today, we have an associate professor that has taught at ACC for over 20 years. Mario Aguilar received his undergraduate degree from Cornell and a law degree from University of Texas at Austin. He is also an ACC graduate receiving an associate's degree in real estate from ACC. He worked for 25 plus years in various professional legal positions with realtors, banks, construction companies, and developers, as well as with state agencies responsible for the administration of more than $300 million in public housing and real estate programs. He teaches in the paralegal department at our college. Professor Aguilar, welcome to Voices Uniting Everyone.
Thank you for having us, Larry. It's great to be here, and I'm really excited to talk to you about some of the great things that we do at ACC.
Before we begin our discussion on belonging, let's hear a little bit about your teaching philosophy and why you chose community college to teach business.
Well, let me say that teaching is a wonderful, wonderful profession. Shout out to all the great teachers out there. That's a hard job, but it's something that society needs. My teaching philosophy basically has been created over the years from within ACC and also from outside ACC. I'm grateful for the support that I've gotten from ACC, attending various seminars to improve my teaching. I'm thankful for the professors. We have awesome professors at ACC. And also, outside of ACC, over the years, I'm grateful, to have been a student in elementary school, in high school, in college. And I've listened, and all of that has given me the knowledge and the know-how. I've even listened to some of our Nobel Prize winners that I have picked up a few things. Weinberg in physics, Toni Morrison in English, Octavio Paz in literature. And it's just wonderful to see what are some of the effective things to do in the classroom and not. My teaching philosophy revolves around the concept that is very similar to the mission of ACC. I believe in the mission of ACC, which is use our resources, instructors, staff, technical, things that we have at ACC to provide the students with the skills, the competencies, the abilities to succeed in life.
What are some examples of some classes that you teach here at ACC?
Excellent question. I teach Introduction to Law in the paralegal. I'm an instructor in the paralegal department. I teach Introduction to Law. I teach Introduction to Paralegal Studies. I teach family law. I've also taught business law and real estate. So I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to teach in three departments: the paralegal department and the business department. And that is awesome for me.
That sounds exciting. What a diverse pool of classes that you actually teach. Which one of those was your favorite class? And if so, why? And are you primarily online, in person, or hybrid?
Excellent question. Probably my favorite, Larry, is Introduction to Law.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is because it's a survey course. We discuss different areas of the law without going into the legalities and intricacies and the complexities of the law. I believe all of our students at ACC should take that class. Because it's good to know your rights, Larry. You never know, right?
That's true.
You get stopped by the police, and now what do? You go to jail, what do? You have a client that is in trouble, what do you do? How can you get him out? So that's probably my favorite. But the question becomes, how do I get my philosophy, my teaching philosophy and practices, how do I transfer those to my students? How do I get my students to trust me? How do I break those barriers between the professor and the student? And that's exciting to me. On the first day of classes every semester, I get excited because I get to see a brand new set of students that are eager, to find out about the law so they can become paralegals. By the way, paralegals are people that, professionals that assist attorneys. And as we say in our profession, paralegals run the offices, just like in the medical field, nurses actually run the offices, right? So Introduction to Law gives me that opportunity to get them excited about the law. The law is beautiful. I know generally people stay away from legal stuff because they think it's a little stuffy, they get scared, right? But that's not the point. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be fun. And that's what I do in my classes. How do I do that? Well, first, on the first class, I open up to them. I shake their hands. I go and talk to them. Because sometimes we have two types of individuals, two types of students. Those that are active and those that are passive. I'm interested in those that are passive because I want them to, become part of our family. We don't have a lot of time. Some of these classes are only like 5 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, or 16 weeks. So we got to move fast and make it effective. So what I do, I open up to them and I say, hey guys, I used to be one of you. Not only that, you way ahead of me where I was when in your position. Why do I say that? I tell them, look, I was born in Mexico, came to this country when I was 12 years old. Larry, I started first grade and I was 12 years old. You think about that, you say, what? Yeah, I had to do that. Why? I couldn't speak English. So the teacher in first grade said, Mario, what are you doing here? You're too old. I didn't know what she was saying because I couldn't understand. They said, you need to go to another school, to remedial school, to the school for troubled people or people that stay behind. So that's how I started my career. They had put me in remedial school with troubled kids.
That's interesting, Mario, because it sounds like what you're saying is some of the people who come to your class may feel like they're too old or they're too this or that based upon their identity, and therefore you go out of your way to make them feel welcome by basically with your body language and with your words letting them know that, hey, you do belong, you are welcomed. And so that's a great way that you engage them in your class.
Absolutely, Larry. And by the story is that I did well in school. I was a top student in high school. I couldn't speak English, Larry, but I was a top student. I don't know how that worked, okay? Poor guy from Mexico, 12 years old, now goes to, I applied to all the Ivy League schools. Guess what? I got accepted to places like Cornell, Columbia, with a full scholarship, Larry. How good is that? So I ended up at Cornell because my advisor says, don't go to Columbia because that's in the Bronx and you may get in trouble.
What are some of the actions you actively take to make your students feel welcome, loved, and engaged in your classes?
Larry, I love my students, and I do things like learn their names, address them by their names. They like that. I also do get on time to class, right? It's important.
Right.
And I give them my cell number. I tell them, hey, if you have a question about anything in the course, here's my cell number. 24/7, you have access to me. And sometimes I get phone calls in the middle of the night. I don't mind that at all. I want them to engage with me. And that's one way to make them feel more comfortable. The more happier they are, the easier it is to learn this concept, the legal principles and practices.
You're absolutely right. I had some professors that I could occasionally do the same thing, call them at home, email them at certain times, and they gave me the support that I needed. So thank you for doing an awesome job of taking care of your students and letting them know that they're important, they're valuable, and it's okay.
They're my favorite.
Understood. College has changed a lot over the last 20 years and that you've been here at ACC. So another question is, what adjustments or changes have you made to your classroom, your coursework, or your approach to teaching to help your students succeed?
Well, recently, as you know, COVID has been affected the way we do business in colleges and in everyday life. There's a couple of things, and COVID is one of them. And what COVID did, they forced us to go into more distance learning, simply because we couldn't come to the campus. That has triggered a whole bunch of changes in the way we design our courses. We have to use technology a little bit more, record lectures, use online applications and so on, which ACC has all of that instrumentality.
Right.
Students out there, people that want to come to ACC, don't worry, we got this stuff. You don't have to worry about that. If you don't have a computer, we can lend you one. I didn't know that, which is awesome. So that has had an impact, and our students like those classes because they can take those classes from anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world for that matter. And they're also, in a way, they're self-paced, so they can finish them up at their own pace, and that's great. Secondly, one of the sad things is that the formula for funding colleges like ours has decreased over the last few years, as you know. So we have had to struggle with that, but we're still finding the monies through bond issues and so on. It's great to know that Austin Community College has a great reputation with the community. The community has responded by approving our bond issues that have provided some of that funding. And finally, we have something called artificial intelligence, Larry.
Yes.
That is something experts tell us that that's going to affect all of our levels of life, from communications to the way we do things regularly in business. It's going to have an impact in our educational system. So I'm hoping that artificial intelligence actually will make our systems more effective, more attractive, and more efficient for our students and our communities.
Well, with professors like you who are being innovative and creative in how you use that, I know there's a great chance that's going to happen. Which leads me to my next question. What have you observed over the years of teaching a very diverse student population? Are there any consistent areas of success or struggles that you see as a faculty member with some of the students you work with at ACC?
Yeah, so for example, we are blessed, Larry, as you know, to live in Austin, Texas. We do have barriers, struggles that students have. For example, finances. Tuition is a problem for some students. Buying books can also be an issue for some students. Childcare, transportation, those things are barriers.
Yep.
But good news, Larry, ACC is addressing each one of those issues. We just need to keep working on them to make it more effective and efficient. Now, I'm also want to say that we are blessed at ACC to have a board that is proactive, and also staff and administration that listens to the community and takes action to deal with those barriers.
Mario, this is great. I wish we had a little more time, but we're approaching time for a break. So we'll take a short break, but be right back. Stay with us for our next guest, a student from Professor Aguilar's class.
Ascender es familia.
Ascender significa comunidad y cultura.
Ascender is having people who you know have your back.
Ascender is life-changing opportunity.
Ascender is a year-long free academic transfer mentor program at ACC dedicated to empowering students. Ascender empodera a los estudiantes. As an Ascender student, you are offered smaller class sizes, classes that are transferable to universities, personalized mentoring, engaging cultural and academic events, and a designated advisor who will help you navigate your first year of college.
The best thing about being a mentor is the mentees. Absolutely.
The best thing of being a mentor is giving back what you receive.
It provides students, regardless of their background, regardless of anything that they carry with them that they might perceive as a negative, and that's something that helps them turn that into a positive.
You will not be alone. You will not sink or swim. You'll have opportunities to both learn your content and curriculum, but also get to know your fellow students.
Ascender es un programa inclusivo, open to everyone regardless of major, age, race, ethnicity, and gender. Anyone can join. Todos son bienvenidos.
Yo decidí esa parte de Ascender porque quería empezar con el pie correcto.
I joined Ascender because I want to be part of a community that really taught me about the opportunities around me and as well give me lessons about school and life.
Ascender is very special because of the people in it and the people behind it. They really make it feel very warm, welcoming, and like a true family.
It really is like a big family. I'm not super close to mine, so like having peers and teachers and staff just without even knowing them just reach out to me, it was a really good experience.
It makes starting a lot easier, which is usually the hardest step.
Come join our familia.
Join Ascender today.
Once an Ascender,
It's always an Ascender.
Join Ascender
Today.
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 Join our familia today. Check out austincc.edu/ascender for more information.
Welcome back to Voices Uniting Everyone with my guest, Professor Mario Aguilar, and now his student, Aaron Burr, joining us from ACC Highland campus where he is studying in the paralegal program. Thanks for joining our show today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Larry. Thank you.
Aaron, it's always an honor to meet our amazing students. Tell us just a little bit about why you came to ACC for college and how long you've been here.
This has been a long journey for me. It's been 20 years since I've been in school, so just not coming back. I've chose ACC because of the breadth of programs, the diversity of the culture here, the affordability, the number of campuses. Being able to access class pretty much anywhere in the city is really phenomenal. And I've been here for 1 year. Just finished my first year. Yeah, I'm very proud of it.
Thank you so much for entrusting us to be that support to help you achieve your goals. So what are you hoping to do when you graduate? What's your career goal?
Well, I'm working on my paralegal studies associate's degree. After that, I hope to get my bachelor's in economics and potentially pursue my law degree after that.
Outstanding. Here's the million-dollar question. What's it like being a student at ACC right now? What's working well for you and what's not working well?
Well, I mean, the staff, the professors have all been phenomenal. Mr. Aguilar specifically has been a big inspiration to me, honestly. I have struggled being an older student, managing my time with my wife, my employment, and trying to keep my GPA as high as possible. It has been a bit of a challenge, but been fairly successful so far.
Thank you. From the information that you shared with us pre-programming, you're a very interesting person and has come up through some unique challenges. So how have you found a sense of belonging and community inside and outside the classroom?
Well, I have attended a few of the meetings for Accent, the student-run news organization. I'm also a member of the Honor Society. So, I mean, there's been so many opportunities to be able to connect with fellow students here at the school. It's been pretty phenomenal.
Tell the audience, what has enhanced your experience and success as a college student?
Well, I go back to the staff and the professors. It's been a challenge to try to get back into the role of a student after so long, and everybody's been so accommodating and so helpful. I've never had to wait for any question to be answered. I've been able to use resources like the Green Card, the bus pass available for the students here. The Student Advocacy Center provides so many awesome resources, food banks, clothing drives. Me and my wife have taken advantage of. It's really amazing all the things that are offered here at the school, actually.
Thank you. And by the way, I appreciated your story off camera about what an adjustment it was being in your mid-40s, returning to school. It reminded me of my struggles coming back in my 50s to get my graduate degree. So if I can do it, you can do it, and so can so many other students. So what type of barriers or challenges have you faced as a student while working toward a college degree?
Well, I'll go back to maintaining employment while going to school, because I am taking a full-time class load. So being able to schedule my time effectively and make sure that I'm meeting all the deadlines and all my assignments, all the reading, a lot of reading required. It's been fairly successful so far, but it's mainly about micromanaging my time and finding and slotting things into specific like half-hour chunks almost every day. I have to break up that agenda in a way like that.
You'd be surprised how many students struggle, both traditional and non-traditional. In fact, one of the top reasons people withdraw from college is because of difficulty balancing work, family, and other responsibilities. So in addition to that challenge, Mario, what has been some other great challenges you've experienced in your career helping students like Aaron succeed and get to the finish line?
Yeah, I've noticed those issues of time planning, and I've noticed that in my classes, I've had a sometimes significant number of students that have to balance family life, have to balance their work, because most of them work to support their families, and have to manage their work at school, you know, and prepare for exams and so on. That's a biggie. Another one's, like we said, barriers are finances, tuition, the cost of books, right? Family support, we're now looking at things like family support. How much support do they get to get through, you know, the difficult courses or the easy courses or through the whole program? You need the family to back you up. So we're looking at that and see how we can help our students progress in that area.
That's why having professors like yourself is so wonderful, who take into consideration the needs of the students and who offer, as much as they reasonably can, the flexibility and support that the students need to be successful. And I'm very sure that Aaron appreciates that, which leads to our next question. Tell us about the business class, Aaron, you took with Professor Aguilar. What was fun, different, and interesting about it?
I was in his introduction to law class. He spoke about that earlier, I believe. It was phenomenal. We had a really great group of students who were incredibly interactive, and we were able to really tear apart the subjects. Mr. Aguilar was very animated, was able to illustrate ideas, literally and figuratively. He would draw these concepts across the board, and we also got to participate with our text in through our journals, where we were able to kind of explore these concepts in further depth and really get a solid understanding of the basic principles of law. If not some of the broader topics, we were able to cover a little bit of everything, which was really phenomenal.
Excellent. So I'm going to go back to you. Mario, what was Aaron like as a student in your class?
One of the things that I see in my students, and I love that, is the curiosity. Their desire to know more about the law. That's Aaron. As you know, he just said it, he's looking at possibly going to law school. I hope it's not a possibly. I hope he goes to law school.
Definitely, yes.
I'm already working on the letter of recommendation.
I greatly appreciate that.
You know, it's to have the students engage in, because the law can be a little bit difficult for some people, Larry. But I simplify the concepts on the board. I use the board. I'm a frustrated artist, and I use the board as much as I can to justify or illustrate my point. For example, in wills, I said that you can die in two ways in wills. I say you can die with a will or you can die without a will.
Okay.
That's it. And we go through the different requirements of a will. It has to be notarized. You have to have two witnesses. You need to name your executive administrator and so on. And I draw those things on the board. And I take in the questions. I listen to them. Are you understanding this concept of not? Without going too fast. We want to make sure that everybody runs together on this little travel. In family law, I said you can get married in two ways. You can get married formally or you can get married informally. Formally through a judge or the church, informally through common law. And then I asked the class, I said, what are the requirements of common law marriage? And we go through all of that. So in other words, I make an assessment and then come back and say, okay, you're right, or no, we need to modify your answer. But I always tell my class, you'll be amazed how much you know already about the subject we're going to discuss. So that makes them feel more comfortable. That makes them feel part of the class. One of the things that I do quickly is that I said, hey, who owns ACC? Who owns ACC, Larry? And they kind of go, well, I don't know. The board of directors? No, you own it. Why? Because you're the taxpayer. It is the tax money that's paying for all of this, including my salary. I'm your worker, I'm your agent, you're my boss. So this is your second home. Enjoy it. Use it to get that job out there.
What a great thought. ACC is indeed a second home. So, next question is, how did the class connect and gel during the semester? And that's for both of you. That question is for both of you.
Well, I mean, it was a 3-hour course, so we got to spend a lot of time together. The class discussions were crucial. Like, they were the primary means we learned everything we learned through the class was through discussion and through the illustrated practices of Mr. Aguilar. So, I mean, we really got to know each other intimately, politically, a lot of debates.
I'll bet. Mario,
I make a point from the very beginning, Larry. You know, I said, hey, everyone in here is welcome, and everyone is going to be respected. No matter what question you have, don't think that it's not worth anything. All questions are important, and all of us are going to drive this thing together. Come on to the ride, join us, you know. So especially those, you know, we have students that are a little quiet, right? So I get a little closer to them to say, come on, guys, you know, we're okay, you know. I understand, you know, those barriers, you know, the thinking about work or other things. But, you know, spend a little time in our class and, you know, learn something. This learning, this teaching is going to help you somewhere down the line to be successful.
What a terrific snapshot of how things gel and came together, both for students and for professor. So as we come up on the last question or two, what would you both say that we as faculty, staff, and students can do to continue to improve upon making ACC a place that everybody truly belongs, feels valued, connected, and supported to success? How, between the two of you, would you say we can continue to do that?
I'd like to see more outreach directly into the Austin community from the student body. I'd like to see more leadership programs for students to help guide those practices, ways we can help the underserved, the underemployed, the disabled. I'd like to see like hands-on work from the students, the staff, the school. Everyone is doing a phenomenal job. I'd like to see that expanded a little bit further.
Okay, so that's one way we can make several ways we can make some real differences. From your perspective as a student, Aaron, from your perspective as a professor, Mario, what are some other things we can do to make a real difference for students?
I'm going to applaud ACC because ACC really listens to the community. As I said before, the reputation of ACC, I think, is generally excellent. And we see that because they keep approving our bond issues. That funds a lot of our resources.
Absolutely.
But, so ACC has developed, and we have all kinds of student services and support services for our students. Counseling, assistance in financial aid. If you need a computer, they can provide you one. Transportation issues. We have childcare in our campuses, Larry. That is unheard of, you know. And so ACC understands the needs in the community, and ACC is continuing to work to make it more effective.
Well, thank you both so much for coming on to Voices Uniting Everyone to learn and hear your perspectives and insights into all this work as a student and a faculty member at the college. That wraps up our show today. To our viewers, thanks for joining us. To learn more about the purpose and belonging work ACC is doing to help our students have a great experience and ensure they cross the finish line, visit austincc.edu/belonging. This show is about how we can change our world one student at a time, and we hope you find some inspiration in this. We invite you to get involved and engaged in this important work for our community. We'll see you next time on Voices Uniting Everyone, only on ACC TV.